How does the domain name resolution work? In this video, we would try to understand that. When we type a URL in the address bar of a browser, the browser sends a DNS query to a DNS server. The DNS server responds with the IP address of the requested domain. The browser then goes ahead and uses the returned IP address to connect with the corresponding server. This process is called domain name resolution. But how does this domain name resolution process work? Let's try to understand that. When we type a URL in the address bar, the browser acts as a DNS client. The client sends a DNS query to a DNS recursor. A DNS recursor is a server that receives a DNS query from a client and makes additional requests to other servers to track down the DNS record. The DNS recursor responds to a DNS client with the requested DNS records. In order to resolve the IP address, a recursive DNS server first sends a query to the DNS root server. The domain name system is structured in a hierarchy using different managed zones. The top of the hierarchy is called the root zone. Root servers are DNS servers that operate in the root zone. The TLD servers operate one step below the root servers. It can respond to a DNS recursor with the address of the appropriate authoritative name server. Authoritative name servers operate below the TLD servers in the domain name system hierarchy. Authoritative name servers are the servers that have access to the actual DNS records. It can respond to the DNS recursor with the IP address of the requested domain. So here is how the domain name resolution works. We type a URL, let's say www.example.com in the address bar of a browser. The browser acts as a client and sends a DNS query to the DNS recursor. The DNS recursor sends a query to the DNS root server. The DNS root server responds with the address of the TLD server for the .com TLD. The DNS recursor makes a request to the TLD server for the .com TLD. The TLD server responds with the address of the authoritative name server that has access to the DNS records of the example.com domain. The DNS recursor sends a DNS query to the authoritative name server. The name server responds with the IP address of the requested domain. The DNS recursor responds to the DNS client or the browser with the IP address of the requested domain. The browser can now go ahead and send an HTTP request to the returned IP address. This is how the domain name resolution process works. However, interested viewers who want to know more about how the DNS works can visit the website of the Security Buddy. The Security Buddy provides many courses on cybersecurity, including courses for various certification exams like the CCNA, CCNP or CompTIA. The relevant links are provided in the description. You can also subscribe to us and get notifications on recent videos.